It is said that those that visit the Kaaba do so on the invitation of Allah, and we are His guests. So for Muslims, this is an honor to be able to do an Umrah. On March 30th, 2010, excitement, anticipation and wonder filled the air of Terminal 5 as a group of deaf Muslims were making their way to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, to perform this physical act of worship. On our flight, many people used the time to catch up with the last bit of reading on Umrah. There was a busy discussion about what prayers needed to be learnt, questions and final clarifications on Umrah, whilst others took the time for quiet meditation, recitation of the Quran and personal prayers. As the plane neared the Miqat zone, the announcement was made to get into Ihram. For whom it was the first Umrah, this was an overwhelming moment, and we all collectively recited the prayer of intention, supporting each other to ensure we all got the first stages right. The men altered their clothes to be in the correct attire. The whole group was now in Ihram to begin their Umrah, and the signing of the prayers had begun. Many internalized their signs and recited them mentally, understanding the meaning of the Arabic words Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik. When we landed in Jeddah, we were all very eager. Baggage was collected, loaded onto the coach for a 2.5-hour ride to Mecca. So en route, we had to stop for breakfast. Despite all of the choices of restaurants, we all ran to Saudi's finest, yes, McDonald's, knowing that we could all try a halal Big Mac. The staff were baffled as they'd never seen so many deaf pilgrims before, gesturing at what they wanted from the menu. Amidst the confusion, our interpreter in Ihram and his white clothes goes behind the counter to give the staff a hand. It had to be the funniest and most surreal thing I have ever seen happen. There are certain rites that must be completed in order to fulfill the requirements of Umrah. This includes going around the Kaaba 7 times, running between the 2 mountains Safa and Marwa 7 times, and then finally cutting your hair to get out of Ihram. Many individuals were nervous whether or not they would be understood by Allah if they used sign language. They were reassured that Allah understands not only speech, but also signs and even your thoughts, and that you should pray in a manner that you felt best communicated with the one who created you. Allah created us. He created thoughts, He created speech, He created sign. He understands all types of communication. Before the obligatory rites of Umrah begins, it is explained to people, especially for those that are seeing the Kaaba for the first time, that upon seeing the house of Allah, any dua you make will be granted. People are told to think carefully, comprehend fully what they really seek in this life and the next, and make their invocation to Allah. This first act is often one full of emotion. We met with the Saudi deaf community as we were invited for dinner by the mayor of Mecca. Awards were exchanged and speeches were made. The most amazing part of the dinner was the 4-way language interpretation. The Arabic language was spoken and signed into Saudi Sign Language, and as the speaking was finished, it was then translated into English, which was then translated into British Sign Language, allowing for both English-speaking and Arabic-speaking individuals to understand what was being said, but also for the deaf, who used Saudi Sign Language and British Sign Language to understand what was being spoken as well. To raise money for charity, the group climbed the 2 mountains, Mount Nur and Mount Thor. Both these mountains have historical significance, as it is believed that on Mount Nur the first verse of the Quran was revealed, and on Mount Thor the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ hid when he was migrating to Mecca with his companion Abu Bakr. Before leaving Mecca, it is recommended to make a farewell tawaf of the house of Allah, where you walk 7 times around the Kaaba, contemplating your experience, any prayers that may come into your mind, and thinking about your return. Exhausted, we all went. Many of us stayed in the mosque until the early hours of the morning, making our final invocations to Allah. There was a deep sadness at making the final goodbye, but we had to move on to the next part of the trip. On our journey to Medina, we discussed the life of the Prophet and the importance of his city, and how he was seen as the mercy to mankind, and how people have such an affinity with him. Even though it has been 1400 years, we felt a calmness within the city which we hadn't felt anywhere else. Although Medina is a very busy city, it doesn't have the hustle and bustle of Mecca, and you can see the difference in the atmosphere straight away. Inside the mosque was the grave of the Prophet, and we all went to give our personal greetings of peace to him. With the rites of Umrah over, the group took time to socialize and relax. There are lots of important sites in Medina, but we visited two of them. One was Masjid al-Quba, and the other was the battleground of Uhud. A prophetic saying states that offering 2 units of prayer in Masjid al-Quba is equal in blessings and reward of 1 Umrah. After this, we visited the battleground of Uhud and paid tributes and respect to the martyrs of the battle, including the famous Hamza, the uncle of the Holy Prophet. The pilgrims made prayers for peace for the people that were buried there. Today, Uhud is a fairly developed area, and there are many houses in the vicinity of the battlefield. There is a mini open market, mostly vendors selling cheap merchandise. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, declared this mountain range a friend, and there is a prophetic saying that Uhud mountain is one of the doors of paradise. On return from Umrah, all pilgrims are expected to take 2 items home: holy water and dates. When we all returned to the UK, we all had mixed feelings. One, we were very happy to be back, to be able to see family and loved ones that live here and are part of our lives here. But there was a part of us that felt like we'd left it back in Saudi, and that was the part of us that had grown spiritually and mentally. We'd also developed a better understanding of our identity of being a Muslim, a greatness of the Prophet and who he actually was. And we all hoped that we were able to achieve a closeness to Allah that we weren't able to achieve here.